an ad of the UP government praising the chief minister. How many times a day on a channel? My goodness. Now, going back to central government ads, they cost a lot of money, whether in a front page ad in a newspaper or on the television. Now, who gets a benefit? The Govt media. The Govt media. And then what happens? The Govt media becomes gaudier, more gaudy. Now, it is, dear listeners, ask your MP to ask a question which we can learn from the UK House of Commons system. There, every Wednesday there is the Prime Minister's questions, 12 to 12:30, every Wednesday. Now, the opposition has been saying that Prime Minister Modi has not been coming to the Parliament and all that. Well, I think we should think of doing that. Now, we do not know what Trump is going to do tomorrow, day after. But my worry is that Trump himself doesn't know. He is disconnected with the reality. So, let us all pray so that Trump can reconnect with reality. Dear friends, once again, I am privileged to be with you. But there is a change in the format because our good friend, Shri Shubham Chauhan, who asks good questions, is away. So this will be a bit of a monologue. Do bear with me. But Shubham has promised to be back by the 11th of August, that is next week, same time, he shall be with us. Now, let us start with Bankipur. The election result, its significance. Well, it appears that Gen Z, the generation that peacefully invaded, mark my adjective, peacefully invaded the Jantar Mandir. Well, they must have had some role to play in that by-election. And what is interesting is that the winner, he has said that why should all projects, meaning investment, should go to the state of Gujarat? Are the Biharis supposed to be always providing? Bihar, is it supposed to be providing only labor? So that is an important question. Now, let's ask a different question. Has the ruling establishment got the correct message from what has happened? Well, up to a point they have, but not to the extent desirable. Because Prime Minister Modi gave an excellent video. I listened to it. As usual, he was very charming and very convincing, but he said that he was forgiving the youngsters. Yes, apparently somebody spoke something which, about his mother. That should never have happened. But the Prime Minister said he had forgiven. Well, if the Prime Minister had forgiven, then How come that girl in Noida, I think she is 15, though the so-called zero FIR said she was 25. So that shows how carelessly the so-called zero FIR was drafted. Now, she's still being harassed by the UP police. So does it mean that the Prime Minister's writ doesn't run in UP and in Noida, which is so close to Delhi? So I think the ruling establishment, they have woken up, but they have not woken up in full. In full. Now, let us look at a general matter of principle. Democracy implies accountability. Correct? Now, accountability implies that there is someone to enforce accountability. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen. Well, it can happen. As I have been saying, the dharma of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan was to resign, but he didn't do that. Now, if he didn't do that, the Prime Minister should have asked him to resign. The Prime Minister didn't do that. Correct? And therefore, the CJP had to intervene. And the CJP intervened with overwhelming support of the public in India and also of Indians abroad. And the CJP got the job done. Well, our congratulations to CJP, and they should continue to be active. It has been said that they plan to have district-wise organization. That's a very good idea. They should do that because otherwise the system lacks accountability. Now, there is another way of enforcing accountability in a democracy. As we know, the state consists of three organs: the executive, the judiciary, and the legislative. Now, it is possible for the judiciary to step in and ensure that the executive does what is required. That is a good judicial intervention. Now, today's Indian Express carries an item, and I was very, very happy to note that. You see, the Punjab government has not been paying DNS allowance to its employees and pensioners for some time. 8 lakhs of them, 8 lakhs of human beings are not getting what is their due. Now, the government has argued that, it costs a lot of money, 15,000 crores and all that. But the court said, well, if you don't have money to pay for the DNS allowance, we are asking you to stop spending money on ads. We see a lot of advertisement on the Punjab or from the Punjab government on the media. Some elderly woman gets a pair of specs and all that. Very well done. But why should it go on doing it? So the High Court in Punjab has said that stop spending on ads, big spends on ads and all that, till you have paid these 8 lakhs employees and pensioners, and the Chief Secretary has been asked to report compliance by 31st of August. That is a good judicial intervention. Now, That leads us to ask another question. How much is the central government spending on ads? In fact, not only the central government, even some of the state governments. We see an ad of the UP government praising the chief minister. How many times a day on a channel? My goodness. Now, going back to central government ads, it costs a lot of money, whether in a front page ad in a newspaper or on the television. Now, who gets a benefit? The Gaudy media. The Gaudy media. And then what happens? The Gaudy media becomes gaudier, more gaudy. Now, it is, dear listeners, ask your MP to ask a question in the parliament. How much is now being spent on advertisement by the central government? That should include putting Prime Minister's photo everywhere. In fact, that should be what I call a start question. So that there is an answer from the minister and there can be follow-up questions. Now, let us hope that sooner or later, active MPs like Shashi Tharoor or John Britage will ask that question. Okay? So, now, that reminds me of something else, which we can learn from the UK House of Commons system. There, every Wednesday there is the Prime Minister's questions, 12 to 12:30 every Wednesday. Now, the opposition has been saying that Prime Minister Modi has not been coming to the Parliament and all that. Well, I think we should think of doing that. Now, the background is that, it started a long time ago, this Prime Minister's questions. In fact, in 1881, when Gladstone was the Prime Minister, because, he was 72, considered old age at that time. Well, the questions came at the end of the day, towards the end of the session, because, he could not probably make it to the Parliament in the early hours. So I think we can consider that and let the opposition, or in a good democracy, even the ruling party MP can internally propose this question, having regular Prime Minister's questions from 12 to 12:30 on any day, okay, when the Parliament is in session. Now, I want to tell you, to move on, something about Kerala floods. Unfortunately, Kerala is still again witnessing it, and the number goes on changing, are declared dead and some are missing. But what I want to talk to you about is something else. When such an emergency arises, we should transcend our political differences and work together. In an ideal scenario, Chief Minister Satishan should have telephoned the previous Chief Minister, Pinarayi Vijayan, and had a conversation. Listen, Pinarayi, you have handled it more than once. Now tell me, what are the immediate things to be done? Same thing applies to the minister in charge of such matters in the present government having a conversation with his predecessor. Now, instead of that, the opposition is attacking the government and the government is wasting precious time in defending itself. Well, is this democracy? Why should we always politicize everything? We need to behave more mature. Now, I want to tell you about a scheme which the Delhi Chief Minister uh, Rekha Gupta has introduced, Lakshmi Yojana. That is, women's family income is below a certain level will get 2,500 rupees a month. Excellent scheme. But it says that the poor woman should get a signature from an MLA or an MP. Now, why? Why? Why should a politician's signature be necessary? No, it is necessary for the government official to make sure that all the claims are genuine. But how do you think, why do you say that MPs or MLAs or councillors' signature will make the claim genuine? No, this is not on. And you know something? The poor woman will think, okay, it's better to get a BJP MP signature, otherwise it may not work. So again, the Chief Minister of Delhi is politicizing a matter which should not be politicized. Now, another matter. The Supreme Court is wanting to consider a petition which says that future demonstrations should not be in Jantar Mandir, it should be somewhere else, and all that. Well, I personally think, of course, it is subject to correction. The Jantar Mandir is an excellent area because the demonstration site should be fairly close, not very close, fairly close to the centers of power. What are the centers of power? The parliament, and a bigger center of power, the government offices, the ministries. So it is quite right to have the demonstrations in the Jantar Mandir. I'm not suggesting that the demonstrators should be able to get too close to the parliament. No, that's a different matter. But, this is important. And now, I was recently in Egypt. I mentioned that last time. I was told that the Foreign Office has shifted far away to a desert. I didn't check, but I suppose the rest of the government offices also may have shifted. Okay, I believe so. Now, why? The official reason was that, Cairo is getting congested. Well, if Cairo is getting congested, you can have another city somewhere nearby. But instead of that, all that has happened is that government offices have moved. And I was told that ambassadors have to, sit in the car for an hour or 1.5 hours, 1 hour and a half to get to the Foreign Office. Now, the embassies have been asked by the Foreign Office to move to the new place, but they are refusing. Now, the real reason I was told why the shifting was done is that because, the Arab Spring, the protesters were able to get close to the government offices. So they thought they should take the government offices away. Okay? So, the establishment may have such thoughts. But I'm sure such thought will not be there in India. But it's a pity that, we saw that in Egypt. Now, let's move on to Trump. Now, Trump has once again, he says that he has cancelled a big attack on Iran. Now, somebody has taken the trouble to find out how many times has he done that. This is the 7th time he is cancelling an attack. And then he said that there will be talks on Monday. I think he said it on Saturday, Sunday, and then he said there will be talks on Monday. He said Iran has been begging for talks. Well, what has happened? Iran has made it clear it has not asked for talks. Correct? And Iran has also said no talks are due on Monday. Well, so, and then Trump said this is the last chance for Iran. Now listen, if Trump really wanted Iran to talk, he should not be saying this is the last chance, because Iran also has a public opinion. And if Trump is using such violent language and then Iran comes for talks, the people in Iran will say the government of Iran is getting intimidated. So let's understand what is happening. We do not know what Trump will do, tomorrow or day after, because he is riding two horses at the same time. One horse, diplomacy. The other, military intervention and threat of such intervention. Now, if you or I start riding two horses, what will happen? We shall fall in between. Correct? Now, we do not know what Trump is going to do tomorrow, day after. But my worry is that Trump himself doesn't know. He is disconnected with the reality. He started this war because he believed the assessment given by Mossad, this Israeli secret intelligence agency, just assassinate the top leadership and go on bombing for 3-4 days, and Iran government will surrender or just disappear into thin air. Now, these are all cock and bull stories. President Trump, the real estate genius that he is, should have known better. In fact, let me put it this way, Trump has painted himself into a corner with Netanyahu's brush. You see? And Trump should get out of that corner. And the first thing is for him to reconnect with reality. First thing for him is to understand that if you want diplomacy, you cannot at the same time use threatening language. And also, there should be some consistency in action and policy. I will destroy Iran. A few hours later, no, I will not. There will be talks. No, this is not on. Inconsistency is very, very bad. So let us all pray so that Trump can reconnect with reality. In fact, he reminds me of Bhagavad Gita. What does the Gita say? If you are angry, then your memory gets, deranged. And if your memory gets deranged, your judgment gets deranged. And then you do wrong things, foolish things. Vinashakale viparita buddhi. Vinashakale viparita buddhi. Now, that is what is happening to Trump. So let us all pray for him so that, he gets reconnected with the reality. And since he claims to be a Christian, let him read the Sermon on the Mount by Jesus Christ. In fact, that should be on the president's desk, written in bold letters. Thank you, dear friends. Meet you soon. And thank you for lending me your ears so graciously.